Welcome everyone.
For my big bloated bearded butt.
Welcome everyone to episode number 5 of the 2022
gods. Can
New
we
York
please?
Giants
We are
franchise on the
begging
Madden NFL
not
2023
another
injury.
sweep in the conference finals in the chase for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. Amber Wilson has the night off tonight here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, as we are presented by Progressive Insurance. And I'll be brutally honest, I'm going to take you behind the scenes here, folks, before we get into everything going on with Luka, Kyrie, Anthony Edwards, the face of the NBA. I mentioned this 3 weeks ago, and I'll say it again tonight. Weren't we a little premature in anointing Anthony Edwards as the new face of the NBA? But with Rachel, James Steele, our producer, my daughter Marin made the trip up here with me to Bristol, Connecticut, the daddy-daughter road trip. Not a road trip, a flight trip from you-know-where. With all the weather going around the country, back in my home in Dallas, Texas, with my family, thoughts and prayers to everyone there dealing with the tornadoes and everything else in Oklahoma. Here in the Northeast, where we were flying in on a nice 14-hour travel day yesterday, I had no earthly idea that I was solo. It's only for an hour tonight as we get you ready for the Mavs and T-Wolves coming up right here on ESPN Radio, and we're praying again to the basketball gods, not another sweep. But I'm dead serious. I had no idea that I was solo
Who's the
tonight
fastest on
until
the
12
team?
minutes ago. No clue. I mean, and I know we're in the communication business, but I guess I missed an email, and I'm asking for an iPad so I can see Amber. And James looks at me like, what? And then Rachel brings an iPad in. It's charging. And she goes, well, I don't understand why you need the iPad. Well, I always have the iPad with a link to Rachel's house. I mean, to Amber's house. And James goes, dude, you're solo. Which I'm great with. I mean, I used to do 7 hours solo on Saturdays back in the day, but I literally had no idea that it was just my sorry butt here back in the confines on campus here at ESPN until literally 12 minutes ago. So get ready, folks, because this is me, uncensored, off the cuff,
Not
ready to
truly
drive
uncensored.
1
If it
hour
was
of
truly
a hell of a
uncensored,
basketball
you be
pregame
dropping
show
F-bombs
with
left
a
and right.
remarkable story coming up in about 13 minutes on the legend that is Bill Walton. I mean, we have been paying tribute to one of the greatest to ever play the game and a man who lived life every single day as we all should, like it's our last. So tribute coming up to Bill Walton coming up at 7:15 and why Jaylen Brown is finally getting some due. But when it comes to tonight, I really am shocked. And by both series, by the way, I never dreamed that Pacers-Celtics, with the way Game 1 unfolded, even without Halliburton, coming off the hamstring injury in Game 2, I never thought that we would see a sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals. I am begging, pleading with the basketball gods, please, does not have both conference finals be a sweep. And one guy that you need to point to when it comes to the Western Conference Finals, and he poked the bear after they took down the champs and the Denver Nuggets in Game 7, is Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards said, no, I've got Kyrie. I'm checking Kyrie. I've got him. Do you? Luka's banged up. Knees are killing him. I mean, he looks like me out there, a 52-year-old dad, bad back, 2 kids, banged up feet. You know what? Doesn't matter. You poked the bear, Anthony Edwards, both of them, and they've come at you with both barrels. I mean, Luka and Kyrie have been absolutely outstanding in the Western Conference Finals yet again, and so have the other guys. The late, great Jerry Sloan. I've told this story a million times, and I'll tell it again now. When I was covering the Utah Jazz as part of the Utah Utes Utah Jazz radio network back in the early 2000s, the late, great Hall of Famer and one of the greatest to ever have a whistle around his neck, in Jerry Sloan, said to me when I asked him, what's it truly take to win an NBA title? And he looked and goes, man, the formula is not that difficult. It's putting together the formula that is difficult. It takes 2 greats, a good player, and then everybody else. And a GM that is in sync with your head coach, and an owner that opens the pocketbook, and let's roll. And the only problem why Jerry Sloan and the Jazz don't have a championship is because of some dude named Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and another coach named Phil Jackson. That's why. Well, right now, the two greats on Dallas are truly great in Luka and Kyrie. And Anthony Edwards called them out, and they noticed, and they have kicked his ever-loving butt up and down the floor. And I give full credit to Alan Hahn, who joined us right here on Amber and Ian about, what would you say, James Steele? About what, a month at the start, before the start of the playoffs. This was in the regular season. When Alan Hahn came on with us and said, hey, beware of the Dallas Mavericks, he picked them to come out of the West. And James, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was before the playoffs even began.
Yeah, I think it was either right when they started, or it was right before.
Yeah, it was right. I mean, it was well beyond round one. I mean, well beyond. I mean, like maybe right before game one, of the Western Conference playoffs. But bottom line is, he was on board with the Mavericks before the playoffs began, or either right at the beginning of the playoffs.
We have if you want to hear what he had to say.
Well, come on with it, Coach. Let's go. Hit it.
There's
Dallas Mavericks.
Whoa,
the way they play
down the stretch,
that team to me is the one that, even if I'm Denver, I don't know if I want to see them. I want somebody else to take them out. You've got a guy like Luka who has played as well as Jokic in the second half of the season. He's not going to win MVP, but he's going to be right there. They got Kyrie focused strictly on basketball right now, and then wanting to play every night, which is also the other challenge. Down the stretch, these guys were phenomenal, but it wasn't just them. What stood out to me about the Mavericks was their GM, Nico Harrison, has done a really good job in building around Luka. They got some bigs. They can rotate these guys in and out all over the place. Their defense from, I think, post-All-Star break to the end was #1 in the league. So not only do they have two great scorers and two great finishers, but they also have their defense playing at a high level.
Alan Hahn right there at the start of the Western Conference playoffs, telling you, watch out for the Dallas Mavericks. Even the champs don't want to see them right now. Well, many took care of the Nuggets. Now, because Anthony Edwards called out Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, that is a big part of not a big part, but a part of the reason why you are seeing Jaw locked and Luka talking noise nonstop to Ant-Man. I mean, when I say nonstop, it is. And look, the Mavericks tonight, I mean, again, watch it tonight. Now, they may not have Derek Lively. The rookie center out of Duke, he has a neck injury.
Neck injury.
He's not in concussion protocol, but Brad Townsend from the Dallas Morning News did report that after Game 3, after he took that hard knee to the back of the head, did go to a local hospital in Dallas to be evaluated for a severe neck sprain and a concussion. Now, to our knowledge, he is not in concussion protocol, but that neck sprain is severe enough that he is a, quote, game-time decision. I do not expect to see, Derek Lively tonight on the floor. But Gafford has been absolutely sensational. Pat Washington, meaning going back to the Jerry Sloan, formula, two greats, the good, and everybody else. And the two greats have been great in Luka and Kyrie. You really haven't had that good. It's been other guys, whether one night it's Pat Washington Jr., one night it's Gafford, one night it's Lively. It is different guys that have gotten the Mavericks now up 3-0. And Alan Hahn called it right before the playoffs began. And Anthony Edwards, you poked the bear, man. Now the bear's growling, and he's feasting. And we talked about Anthony Edwards being the face of the NBA. I said it then.
He's got to have at least 77 to 78.
Took note of that. Guys like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who is your Eastern Conference Finals MVP. They all took note of that chatter going around Anthony Edwards because they took down the champs. Well, that was a bit premature because right now they are on the brink of elimination. And tonight on ESPN Bet, the Mavericks are a 1.5-point favorite. We are 66-34-2 against the number.
102.
Bet your hands bleed. We do have a pick on this game. We'll give that to you coming up at 7:47 Eastern Time, 4:47 Pacific, because we firmly believe Vegas is begging you to take a side. So coming up, we continue here as we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Bundle home and auto and save. Visit Progressive.com. This is Amber and Ian. Amber Wilson has the night off. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, solo tonight. And coming up, the great Bill Walton. Man, he lived life like every day was his last. I have a phenomenal story about what made that man click like no other. It involves service. We explain service when it comes to Bill Walton next, right here on Amber and Ian on ESPN Radio. Carlisle, the Indiana Pacers, got swept, and I am absolutely stunned that they got swept. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons here on your extended pregame show, getting ready for Game 4. Mavericks at Minnesota, trying to avoid another sweep in the NBA Conference Finals. We've already got one, as I mentioned, with the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston sweeping the Pacers. Minnesota trying to avoid it, maybe just get a gentleman's sweep at worst case scenario. I am absolutely in awe that the Pacers got swept. They had chances in Game 1, Game 3, Game 4 to win any one or all of them. We'll touch on that. You'll hear from Jaylen Brown, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, coming up in just a moment as we get you ready again for the Western Conference Finals Game 4 between Mavs and Minnesota, as we are presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive can help you protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, RV, and more. And if something wasn't mentioned that you had in mind, find out if it can be covered at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE, because it probably can be. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. Amber Wilson has the night off. Now, before we get into what happened with the Pacers and everything else, and Jaylen Brown finally getting the recognition and the award that he deserved, being Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Bill Walton, we lost a great one. Rick Carlisle's teammate in the '86 NBA championship team, where he won Sixth Man of the Year. Rick Carlisle was on that bench with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and all those greats. And Bill Walton was a great teammate of ours. The stories he would tell and just the personality that he had was infectious. He was a remarkable human, one of the best basketball players to ever walk the earth. And if he didn't have the foot injuries that he had coming out of UCLA early on in his career with Portland, Lord knows how many other titles, awards, accolades that he would have acquired. But after his playing career, he was so just generous with his time. I was talking to Evan Wilner, producer of Carlin versus Joe, who was on producing the morning show a couple years ago here at ESPN Radio. And when he went to book Bill Walton, and he said, Bill requested, but most guests like, how long do you need me? Bill Walton told him, I need 45 minutes. 45 minutes. You know what 45 minutes with Bill Walton would get you? 3 questions. That includes hello. So back when I was with the Dallas Mavericks radio network, doing a show with the legendary Randy Galloway, who's in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame voter, covered the Dallas Mavericks since it's been damn near their inception. He wanted Bill Walton on to talk about Dirk Nowitzki, because Bill made a comment of how Dirk is changing the game of basketball. And Dirk was truly the first stretch 4 who had a back-to-a-basket game but could hit the 3 damn near at will. And then now you have the Dirk shot, which was an off-legged, off-knee up fadeaway shot that was unblockable. I mean, it was the second coming of, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook. So Galloway wanted to talk to Bill Walton about how Dirk was changing the game. And I cautioned Galloway, and I said, look, if we have Bill Walton on, because Randy loves to talk. Loves when he was absolutely adored hearing himself talk. I said, Randy, if we have Bill Walton on, that's the entire segment. And our segments on ESPN Dallas on the Mavs radio network were about 12 to 15 minutes. And Randy goes, well, whatever, man, just get the man on. I want to talk to him about Dirk. Okay, all right, Randy, here we go. So we call up Bill Walton. Bill comes on, and I cautioned, and James Steele, you can back me up on this. The one thing, if you wanted to get to basketball with Bill Walton, you did not ask him, how are you doing? Because if you posed the question, James, am I lying? James Steele, our producer here on Amber and Ian here on ESPN Radio. If you pose the question, how are you doing, you were going to get a minimum of 5 minutes as to how he's living his best day. And at worst, 14 to 15 minutes as to how he's living his best day. Am I exaggerating?
Yeah, no, I was there to witness what you were talking about with the morning show and Evan. where I think it was the last hour of the show. We might have had like one more break and the hard out to hit still, and we got him on
45 minutes, right? 45.
Yeah, I mean,
you squeezed 2 breaks in early, right, just to get him on.
So I, it was one of those things where we had a break before the end of the show break, and we were sweating because we were doing math in the control room, and because we were like, we got at some point, right? At some point, someone has to say something and just say goodbye, because if we don't, we're just gonna crash into it. We're gonna miss an entire break, and but it was great.
That was the greatest.
Stream of thought. I think that I was watching Get Up this morning too, and Greeny had a story when he was doing Mike and Mike. They would have him on like weekly for a while. They were having him on like for a weekly hit, and he was telling the story where they called him up one time, and he told the producer, who was Liam Chapman, who's one of our bosses now. He said, just have them ask me how I'm doing, and then they could go do whatever.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that story.
Then they could go do whatever they want for 10 minutes. I'll
be good. So I told Galloway, I said, if you want to get to Dirk and talk about how he's changing the game and what Bill Walton said, do not ask him how he's doing, because if he went to a show which he called service, Grateful Dead shows were service to him. Widespread Panic, any of those Fish, whatever, any of that genre of music, if he went to a show, that was going to service. Well, I'd heard that he had gone to, whether it was Panic or Fish or whatever, the night before. And so if you ask how he's doing, you're going to get 9 to 10 minutes of, Randy, let me tell you. I mean, I went to service last night, and I am doing exceptional. And let me tell you why. Today's a remarkable day because we're breathing. We're living. And you're going to get 9 to 10 minutes of infectious attitude from the great Bill Walton. And that's exactly what happened. And so 9 minutes and 14 seconds later, he finished how he was doing. And it was like, do you ask the Dirk question and go another 9 minutes and blow through the break, which we obviously did with local radio. And he gave this remarkable synopsis of how Dirk has changed the game as far as the stretch four. Being able to hit the three, a back to the basket, his patented shot, which we then saw Kobe using, and now still see players today mimicking and have copied that Dirk off-legged, knee-up fadeaway. That was the greatness of Bill Walton. He didn't live for yesterday. He wasn't looking in the rearview mirror. He wasn't looking ahead. He was living in the moment, especially if he went to service. Bill Walton, you will not be missed. You will always be remembered. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. You're on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. Amber Wilson has the night off. We're getting you ready for Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. We'll take you live to Minnesota coming up at 7:32 Eastern Time, 4:32 Pacific. But right now, let's hear from Jaylen Brown. Playing for Bill Walton's old team, where he won the Sixth Man of the Year in an NBA championship, his second, the first, obviously, with the Portland Trail Blazers, his second as Sixth Man of the Year in 1986 as Rick Carlisle's teammate with the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown finally getting his just due Eastern Conference Finals MVP when he received the award. What was it like? Here's the question. Here's the answer.
Were you expecting it? Like, what was your feeling when you heard your name called?
I wasn't expecting it at all. I'll never win. So I was just happy that we won.
I never win, believe. Just happy that we won. And you can hear in his tone there, because he talked about it earlier in the season. Like, he doesn't care about individual awards. He just wants the Larry O. He wants that chip. He wants that ring. And that is what is driving Jaylen Brown. So when he asked what's the difference from the years past to this one, putting his best foot forward, here's what he said.
We feel like we're a different team than we were last year and the year before that. I know everybody wants to continue to kind of pigeonhole us to what's happened in the past, but we've had a different team every single year, different coaches. We've had like 3 coaches in the last 5 years, and still people want to, just make it seem like it's the same. Time has gone by. Experience has been gained. And I think we are ready to put our best foot forward.
He is spot on, 100%. And this is a different Celtics team. And I am still in awe that they swept the Pacers, who could have had game 1, could have had game 3, could have won the game last night. Didn't. Celtics found a way to win. And here they are going to the NBA Finals in the chase for Lario. Who will they be facing? Will it be the Mavs after tonight? We'll take you live to Minnesota next, right here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app.
This is after the Dan Le Batard show, so normally.
The game is over. The Mavericks take a 3-0 series lead with a 116-107 win over Minnesota.
It was great, but we got to think about next game. We got to play with the same mentality. They're not going to go away, so we got to think about next game.
That would describe the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. I mean, Fitzsimmons, Amber Wilson has a night off. We're getting you ready for Game 4. Minnesota Timberwolves at the Dallas Mavericks, where I normally call home, but I'm in Bristol, Connecticut tonight. My youngest daughter, Marin, made the daddy-daughter road trip to come up here and see campus for the first time. I've been promising her that for, about 4 or 5 years now. So finally delivered, and just in time because storms ravaged our hometown of Dallas, Texas. Millions of people without power. And Ashley Shamedy joins us now, our courtside reporter here on ESPN Radio. Also works games for the Charlotte Hornets. And Ashley, we appreciate your time here on ESPN
She's a
Radio.
Charlotte Hornets sideline reporter for Bally Sports.
And just the status there in the city of Dallas. Because talking to my wife this morning, Ashley, we had no idea how bad it was this morning until we woke up after a 14-hour travel day because of weather as well, flying from Dallas to Bristol, Connecticut. And I had no idea, we had no idea how bad it was in the city that we call home, where your parents also call home. So if you can, before we get to the game, what's it like there? How many people are without power, and how ravaged was Dallas, Texas, and North Texas?
We welcome the AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
First off, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. This has been a fun series to cover. But honestly, you guys should maybe extend your trip, stay up there for a minute, because there's still no power. My brother, my sister-in-law, my mom, they all live here, and they have been without power all day. My mom actually had to come to my hotel to try and do some work all day today because of it. So it was really scary. I am from the Atlanta area, and I haven't really ever dealt with the tornado or any type of weather like that before, and we were huddled in the bathroom at one point, just trying to wait it out.
Improve
it was
catching and blocking,
and the sirens were going off. There were trees flying around, but luckily where we are, I mean, there were some trees that went down, but it didn't seem too bad from where we were.
But I know boot this one away.
And like you mentioned, the power is out, and
Devontae Turpin back deep to return.
We ended up trying to get downtown this morning, and every business was out. All the lights were out. Everything was just kind of gloomy and shut down. And so it definitely hit hard. And it's crazy because then at, 2 o'clock this afternoon, the sun was shining. And I just couldn't believe where we were not that long ago, hiding in the bathroom, trying to wait out the storm. And then just hours later, the sun was shining in Dallas, and it was like nothing had ever happened. So it is crazy weather here for sure. But it cooled things off, and, shoot around as normal, and now we're getting ready to play a basketball game.
Game 4 coming up, and our thoughts and prayers to everybody in Oklahoma, the tornadoes, North Texas, and obviously in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Everyone get safe and be safe, and our thoughts and prayers to all of you. All right, let's get to it, Ashley, because sports has a remarkable way of galvanizing people and giving you hope and making you forget a bit of the issues that you're dealing with. So the Mavericks and the Stars now, just are on a remarkable run for the Metroplex there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the sports fans. And let's begin with an injury update. Derek Lively has been outstanding in the paint. He and Gafford, the Twin Towers with the rookie out of Duke, giving Gafford a spell. He has been sensational. He took that big hit with a knee to the back of his head. What is the latest status tonight? I'm assuming that he's
this
not
on
going to
YouTube,
play.
but
What is the latest?
my mom's friend one time when I accidentally yelled at mom for saying that I was doing my chores, and Dad said that he watched me not do any of my chores. And not only my dad walked up to me and side of the head. My mom's friend walks up, grabs me by the throat, and throws me against the wall. And they both were like, "Don't you ever in your fucking life talk to your mother like that." And
has been out since that Clippers series with a shoulder injury, and he was listed as questionable yesterday. And we just talked to head coach Jason Kidd for Dallas, and he is going to be in tonight. Now, he said, I don't like to say minute restriction, but obviously because he has been out for, since the beginning of May, so almost a month now. And just talking to Maxey at shoot-around this morning, he said there's nothing like playing in a game, so there's only so much you can do to try to assimilate true basketball action. But he said gives a lot of credit to the medical staff, just their process to get him ready for tonight, and hopefully he'll be able to make a little bit of an impact. I know it's going to be, beneficial for Dallas because of his ability to play that center position, but obviously shoot the three, so that might switch things up in terms of what Minnesota's going to do and their game.
Like I said,
So
the Cowboys are a good team. You're not going to beat them by stopping them on defense. You're just going to have to outscore them.
I talked to PJ Washington, who he was obviously with the Charlotte Hornets, had played the 5 a lot during his time with the Hornets, and he said, I'm definitely ready if that's the case, if I need to. It creates such a mismatch, so sometimes that's helpful, and so if Maxey is
yeah,
a little bit,
sexy Dexy.
They've got that option as well. So first off, seeing how Maxey looks and if he's able to make an impact, and then we'll see how that maybe affects Minnesota.
I think this arm is going
Ashley Shambody courtside for us here on ESPN Radio on this series between the Mavs and T-Wolves. Joining us here on ESPN Radio, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. Amber Wilson has the night off. And Ashley, as far as Luka goes, I mean, at times it hurts my knees to watch him play, but he is just gutting through it. If you can, just take us there onto the floor. What's it like watching him get up and down the floor with those knees that are so banged up, and to watch him play at such a high level?
It's funny you asked that, because somebody asked at shoot-around, for his knees to bleed like they do. Like, does he have just a never-ending cut that keeps getting open? Because every single game, it's like that. Someone said, is there a ketchup packet in there? I do not understand how this keeps happening. And he was like, no, I mean, we joke about it too, but it's the real thing. So for them, you'd probably think that they would love this week if they can close it out tonight to get a little bit more healthy for Luka's knee to at least get healed up for the NBA Finals. So for them, I'm sure that's something that's maybe on their mind, but obviously they have to win this one tonight. But for him, he is just such a competitor, and he's always listed on the injury report, but as most people know, it probably would take a lot more.
That was a good throw, but just underthrew it.
Sit out. I don't see that, ever happening. He just fights through it, but I've seen him in the huddles and timeouts. It is definitely something that he is dealing with. He, is hunched over. I've seen teammates come up to him in different games during the huddles and timeouts, just asking if he's okay. He's constantly kind of fidgeting with it, so he is definitely in a lot of pain, and he's just gutting it out. This is something that I'm sure most people aren't surprised about, just because of his demeanor and how much of a competitor he is, but it's definitely a real injury.
How much, Ashley and Ashley Shambody courtside for us here on ESPN Radio between Mavs and T-Wolves here with us on ESPN Radio. How much Anthony Edwards poke not just the bear, meaning Kyrie Irving, but also Luka, because Luka and Anthony Edwards have been going at it, verbally at each other, and then you also have Kyrie in game 1 where he just went off, but anytime Anthony Edwards was ISO'd on him. How much did Anthony Edwards, in your opinion, in talking to the Mavericks, kind of get underneath their skin going, I want that guy, and he's gotten every bit of it and more, being now 3-0?
I love Anthony Edwards' confidence. I think most people probably do.
Trey Klein!
Genuine and infectious, and I think, just talking to him about shoot-around, it is so real. He truly just does not think about, if he missed a shot, he moves on. That's just who he is. And even talking to Chris Finch, some of his teammates, that is who he is no matter what. He is always going to be that confident. So obviously not surprised the comments that he made, and that's just how he is. And in the game after, Kyrie was even laughing about it. But it is a little bit like, look, you can poke around. You guys obviously were able to beat a veteran team in Phoenix, and that was a very demanding type of win there, but you got to be careful maybe what type of veteran that you poke around and where you are. They're in the conference finals now. Kyrie has obviously been here before. He has done this dance, and just to poke this type of bear, if you will, because they know what they can do, and they have so many weapons, and that duo has been just incredible to watch. The shots that they take, I mean, Minnesota has been in every single game, but it's those clutch moments, those closing minutes that they're unable to get it going. The first two, it was because of turnovers. The second one, more of maybe the shot making, but Kyrie and Luka, that's been the common denominator of every single one. And I I just don't know if they have an answer for them, and if that's going to be the case tonight. Maybe being on the brink of elimination, we're going to see something a little bit different. But for Anthony Edwards, that confidence is wonderful, but it's definitely, you got to be careful when you're saying it too, because Kyrie is.
Yes, sir, Crowder.
He takes it personally. There's no doubt. Without a doubt. Ashley, as we wrap up, if you can, Minnesota coming into this game, how have they looked? What tone have you heard from guys to just the pride factor? Nobody wants to get swept. They're a 1.5 underdog tonight in Dallas against the Mavs. How do they look coming into this one to avoid a sweep and get this thing back to Minnesota?
It's wild because that shoot around, it's been the same every single game. Even this morning, I think they're very much, relying on that attitude of, hey, we lost 3 against Denver. Yes, they had won the first 2, which obviously gave them some momentum. But then we lost 3. We lost our way. We weren't playing Minnesota basketball, and we were able to prevail and get those final 2 wins. So I think for them, they're just kind of relying on that and that feeling, and knowing, I know no one thinks that we can win this one. I know no one thinks we can force a game 5, but Karl Anthony Towns saying, it's cliche, but as long as we all believe in the locker room, then that's what it's going to take. And I think they're just really relying on how they felt during the series. What more could you do when you're in this position? I think it is going to be obviously historical. The numbers don't say that it's easy to come back from this at all, but it's not impossible to force a game 5, to head back to Minnesota. I think that's all they're thinking is, man, if we can just get one. And obviously, this is the one you got to get, or else it's over. But to get back to Minnesota and be able to continue to extend the series, they very much think, we did it against Denver, why can't we do it again? So it just seems that they're calm once more.
Davidson gets a half a set with Thomas.
I don't know what it's like to be a professional athlete, because I would be a nervous wreck and want to win this one. So for them, though, it's just been the same. They have all just stayed level-headed, and I think that's something great about Anthony Edwards as well.
My goodness, he put a ton into that one.
Karl Anthony Towns, he has not been the player we've
I know, Adelaide!
This morning. This is the worst time, obviously, for me to be in a shooting slump, but I'm not going to worry about it. I know I put the work in. I know I have the ability to do so, and Chris Finch said it as well. He's won a lot of games for us, so they all just have a lot of confidence in themselves. So we're gonna hope that shows out tonight here on this floor.
Hey, Ashley, your nerves took enough with those 85-mile-an-hour winds in tornado-type, force earlier today. Hiding in the bathroom with your mom and family, you're good. Your nerves are shot. You just have a great call tonight with you, Dave Pash, and Corey Alexander. Thank you so much for the time, as always, courtside right here on ESPN Radio. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Hopefully you guys get backstage. The power comes back on for everyone.
Amen.
Thank you.
No doubt. Ashley Shamady, courtside here at the AAC down in Dallas, Texas, for Mavs and T-Wolves. As the NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio, tune in tonight for what we were just talking about. Game 4 of the Western Conference.
Seals Jones, touchdown, 39 yards.
Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations and on Sirius XM Channel 80. Coming up next, we've got a bet to your hands bleed. We are 66-34-2 against the number. We are picky. This goes all the way back to the start of college football in last September. We have a bet to your hands bleed on this game tonight. Find out what it is right here on ESPN Radio.
Bet to your hands bleed.
We are 66-34-2 against the number, going back to the start of college football last season. We are very picky when it comes to these for a reason. That's why we've actually won a few. I'm going to be honest. This one's a little sketchy because my home is Dallas. All my wife, both my daughters, hell, our dogs root for the Dallas Mavericks. But I'm going against them tonight. Give me Minnesota on ESPN Bet plus 1.5. Buy it up to 2.
Oh, no.
Give me Minnie to get back to Minnesota and force a game 5. Minnesota, bet till your hands bleed.
It's making headlines.
Extra, read all about it.
But is it a big deal or not a big deal with Amber and Ian?
It's a big deal if my wife just heard that pick. I might not be allowed to fly home.
Do you really want to with all the storms, though?
We have power at our house. We did not have power on Sunday, so it was all day, and it was 102 degrees heat index. So that was fun. That was a good time. Flew yesterday, but yeah, my in-laws, who are obviously, the story, you folks are dealing with health issues. They are now all at our house. So now I have my mother-in-law on a walker in our house, and my father-in-law just had a heart procedure. But my mother-in-law is on a walker with 3 dogs in our house.
Oh, Lord.
It's like roller derby in there. I mean, just like my wife sent me a text saying, I don't know what's more stressful, the storms hitting North Texas right now and our home, or her mom on a walker with 3 dogs thinking it's a blast to chase Susu around. So there you go. All right, now, having said all that, my hands might be the ones bleeding when it comes to actually telling that story live on air here on ESPN Radio. James Steele's got little tidbits, man, when it comes to big deal, not a big deal. Here we go, James.
All right, first up, Angel Hernandez is retiring.
Big deal.
MLB umpire Angel Hernandez is retiring effective immediately, ending a controversial 3-decade-long career that in recent years turned Hernandez into a source of consternation with players at a punching bag among fans on social media.
I didn't care for that. Like, why are people questioning somebody for the way they were umpiring the game? It's a damn game, people. Calm down.
After umpiring thousands of games since his debut in 1991, Hernandez, who worked his last game on May 9th and was replaced on Lance Barksdale's crew by Jacob Metz, sued MLB in 2017, alleging the league had engaged in racial discrimination. The lawsuit was thrown out by a district court judge, a decision upheld by an appeals court last year. So I think you already answered the question. Angel Hernandez retiring, think about a big deal.
This should have happened 20 years ago. Now look, he was a hell of an umpire early on. You don't get to 2 World Series. You're graded, right? So you don't get to 2 World Series if you weren't graded as one of the best out there. But then it all went to his head. It was all about him. And that's the last thing you want as a Major League Baseball umpire, as an NBA rep, as an NFL official. It ain't about you, man. It's about being impartial. And Angel Hernandez thought the game was about him. And you can't tell me that this was him saying, I'm retiring. The league said, get your ass out of here, and here's a money settlement. He gone. So it's a big deal because a guy who went from a great umpire to having wanting the game to be about him is finally gone. That's a big deal because it's better for the game.
One of my favorite things to do is to scroll social media and watch compilations of Angel Hernandez completely obliterating the strike zone in terrible ways. He was awful.
He didn't have a strike zone, man. He had a strike area code.
He was just the worst. The worst. Bengals are starting OTAs without Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. The absence of 2
not a big deal. It's voluntary OTAs, people.
Taylor said, quote, they're still working hard elsewhere and they'll be back at the right times. And the beauty is we know those guys. We know what they're about and that they'll be ready and focused when it's their time to come back.
Shit, not again.
The 2 star wide receivers for the Bengals are not in OTAs.
Not a big deal at all. You don't see Justin Jefferson with the Vikings.
Damn it!
CeeDee Lamb with the Cowboys. And with the deal Nico Collins just got with the Texans, they're all sitting there going, bleep, you pay me. So they ain't going to show up anytime soon.
They don't give a shit. Motherfucker, pay my ass.
Maybe not T. Higgins with the Bengals, but Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, all of them, they're going to at some point get paid by the time training camp comes around. It's not a big deal. They're missing out right now.
Up next, Bronny James. Since he declared for the NBA draft in April, around 10 teams have sent the USC guard, former USC guard, a workout invite. The Athletic Shams Charania reported on Tuesday. However, James has only been in talks with 2 or 3 teams so far.
Okay. Sheldon Jenkins.
That's going to include
former Saint. It sickens me to you.
So Lakers shocked.
Big deal, not a big deal. Bronny James working out with some NBA teams here.
Not a big deal. He's a 2nd-round pick.
He's on draft. My book. I'm sorry. My book, because I'm worried about his health issues coming back from that, the cardiac arrest. I wouldn't even draft him. I wouldn't even draft Bronny. I'm dead serious, and people laughed me out of the door, but I'm being dead serious.
All right, one more.
Come on.
Stewart-Haas Racing will close at the conclusion of the 2024
Big
season.
deal.
In a statement, Stewart-Haas Racing says, quote, we have made the difficult decision to close Stewart-Haas Racing at the conclusion of the 2024 season. It was a decision that did not come easily, nor was made quickly. Ian, big deal, not a big deal, Stewart-Haas Racing.
I'm jumping in and saying it's sad because Stewart-Haas is my favorite, because Tony Stewart was my favorite. So, sad day for Rachel.
Rachel Robinson, being a Charlotte native, there you go.
Oh, wow, I didn't know she was from
Tony Stewart smoked, man. Look, that's one of the dudes was the first to ever do it, the Indy 500 to the Coca-Cola 600. Dude was a hoss. So, yeah, I'm going to say big deal just because it's smoke, and, you know, that was, for NASCAR fans, a household brand.
Why does that shit do that?
Today's episode is brought to you by The Bike Riders, a new film from Jeff Nichols starring Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. Inspired by true events, The Bike Riders follows Benny, Austin Butler, the newest member of Midwestern motorcycle club The Vandals, led by the enigmatic Johnny, Tom Hardy. Critics are calling it electrifying, stunning, exhilarating, powerful, and the godfather of biker movies. Experience The Bike Riders on the big screen this summer, only in theaters June 21st. Visit thebikeridersfilm.com to get tickets now.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila.
Oh, wow, what a block. Ankle breaker!
Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Beckley. SAB The CD. Copyright 2024. Baltimore. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
Chris, do you think that I'm correct when I say that everyone around here a little bit hides their sports hurt because they don't want America to drink up their tears? So there's a stoicism involved with everyone here when there is hurting, and I noticed it on the way in, oddly enough. It wasn't even about the Panthers this weekend. When I pulled in, Stuttgart waddled out from behind one of the parking garage pillars. Yeah. And, you know, he's covered in cigarette smoke, and it makes me a little bit sad when I see it in the morning because he doesn't have...
Smiled this morning.
I did smile, but I was laughing at how sad it was that you continue to smoke in a parking garage instead of going and doing it somewhere where there's sunshine. But what I saw on you, I think, hiding behind the stoicism was heartbreaking. But I'm not totally positive because you guys do such a good job of concealing when you're hurting. I saw that
Bruh, come on.
6-0.
They were up 6-0.
And thought they were going to win easily another championship at Northwestern. And then next thing I know, Boston College has won the lacrosse national championship by a goal.
Second time in I think 3 or 4 years BC has won. 6-0 is not a big lead in that sport, especially in the first quarter. But I am hurting today. Like, that hurt. To see my daughter emotional after the game, to see her crying after the game, and really, you know, because I've gotten to know her teammates and those families very, very well. That's a terrible way for the season and some of their careers to end. So, yeah, I'm hurting today. I don't care. I'll tell you. I'm hurting today. Hurting for that. Yep.
You make the Final Four every year. Is it that painful?
It is.
I cry all the time. So I really don't know what you're
Lucy,
talking about.
really.
I've cried so many times on camera from both happiness and a lot from sadness too. So I'm not hiding it.
I would agree that you are less concealed than most, but I think Stugatz greeted.
I would never want to cry on camera. You can kiss that shit goodbye.
Find out whether Roy's actually concerned or not, because he's always hiding.
Yes.
I can answer that question right now. No.
What?
I'm not.
Come on, Roy.
If I can speak for the other end of that spectrum, I've been shitting myself every 3 hours for 2 days.
I can't remember in my entire history covering sports in this market a non-season ending game that felt as bad as what just happened to the Panthers. It's not that you lost the second time in overtime in as many games.
Derek White in the Eastern Conference Finals last year to send it to a Game 7.
That's a good one.
Because I got to tell you, in my mind,
Hey!
example,
Put me hitting people out of bounds.
In Game 3.
Some unsportsman like contact penalty. And 2 of those, your ass is going.
This is because usually these things are reserved for Game 6 and Game 7. The thing that I was
Hey, horse collar. What you doing?
I've never felt that way that early in the series about anything. Game 3, you don't remember any Game 3s in the history of Game 3s. None of you do. You don't remember any of them.
I love that as a trick.
It's a great trick.
Remember a Game 3, I dare you, and then move on. Like, well, my head's still spinning trying to find a Game 3.
Because I'm certain over the 20 years
2017
about a big Game 3.
first round Game 3 between the LA Kings and the Colorado Avalanche. We ended up losing 6-4. Mikko Rantanen had 2 goals, 11 shots on goal, 5 hits, and 3 penalty minutes. Intercepted! He threw it right to Darnell Holmes! What was he thinking?
Like, to have that kind of shot advantage in a game hadn't been seen in how many years in that sport in the playoffs, where you don't lose that game. A team with that kind of shot advantage never loses that game. Let's start the show so I can get to my top 5 most heartbreaking things South Florida has felt. Whoa.
Oh, that was a pre-show meeting.
This is the Dan Levator Show with the Stugatz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I meant to address this a couple of weeks ago when Ken Rosenthal, voice for baseball, said that everyone in baseball was talking about how something finally had to be done about Angel Hernandez. When Ken Rosenthal stakes his voice and bow tie as the voice of baseball on running someone out of the sport, it then happens soon thereafter. So congratulations to all Hispanics who have known that Angel Hernandez has been a blight upon our people with his general incompetence for 30 years umpiring baseball games. But it appears that they finally settled. They negotiated with Angel Hernandez in one of the most powerful unions in the history of unions, not just sports. And they said, Angel, not one more game this season. You are retiring right now. You are announcing your retirement. We're not even going to go anymore. It's going to be in the middle of the season. It's not even going to have any explanation for why it is right now. You're not getting worse. You've always been the worst. And now we're deciding you have to retire in a settlement. I can't imagine how much money that man got.
We're going to miss that man. I'm telling you right now, it's hard to see it today, but I'm telling you next year, a couple of years down the road, we are going to miss Angel Hernandez on this show. We're going to miss talking about Angel Hernandez. We are.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Levitard Show. Are we going to miss Angel Hernandez?
Bro, what the fuck?
Do you want to celebrate profound incompetence?
Yes.
Because I was like Draymond Green with Rudy Gobert. Draymond Green is really celebrating because Jerkic and Gobert are going to get swept.
Jokic.
He's just making the rounds, hating everywhere. He is America's foremost hater right now. Put up the clip for us, please, of him reacting to what is happening in that Minnesota and Dallas series where everyone is watching the defensive player of the year, 4-time defensive player of the year, get hunted and get picked on, Stugatz, in a way that creates great merriment and joy throughout the sport because
Bruh.
I hear that everyone hates Gobert. And I got to think, right? I don't know enough about what has been happening in previous years versus this year as to how it is that Gobert gets played
Y'all
off the
shit
court. He's
on
not
my
getting
CD
played off the
Lamb.
court. They're just hunting the defensive player of the year, which I don't have any precedent for. Like, so he's not getting played off the court, but they're losing because he's out there. And he needs to not be out there. Did you guys see the face on McDaniels when they went to the switch on defense? The slow motion face when he just went, oh no, because he realized it was Luka on Gobert. And even Jamal Crawford is telling you before it happens, this is going to be a step back three right in Gobert's face. Because Gobert hasn't been able to cover Luka Doncic on any continent that they've played on.
Yeah.
Isn't Anthony Edwards like totally skating on this?
Yes.
I mean, he was pounding his chest about what he did in the previous series to Jamal Murray. I'm out there. I'm a lockdown defender.
Yeah, he's getting his ass worked. That's why I think Anthony Edwards should just keep his mouth shut and just ball. Because I hate shit talkers. Because if you can't back it up, don't shit talk. That type of thing really pisses me off.
In here that Anthony Edwards is the reason they're losing that series because he's not guarding Kyrie. But to me, the funny thing about Game 3 is Anthony
today's the type of day
Edwards
I want to
is
get
in the
absolutely
tunnel
slaughtered.
getting oxygen.
So I'm just going
Luka's smoking a cigarette
because
running
at
up and down the
least a
court.
little bit of my
Put it on the poll,
vodka
please.
bottle.
Are you
It's a baby
sure
bottle, but
Luka's in
still.
shape?
I don't know what to do with Luka because he's one of those guys. You know, they said earlier he was injured. I don't know if he's injured because he always looks injured. And so I have no idea what to do with Luka Doncic. It's convenient now that people aren't talking about the injury because they're up 3-0. He's playing so well. But he is one of those guys, Dan, and he annoys me because I have no idea. There is no way of knowing. Not even doctors know whether or not Luka is hurt. He always looks hurt. And he does.
I saw Lucas Stan account tweet out that nobody is holding opposing players to a better field goal percentage from the field. And then I dug deeper and I saw minimum 200 field goal attempts. Like, what great defender has that many? And this was like around Game 1 of the Western Conference. I don't think any other defender had 200 attempts on them in this postseason. But yeah, Luka's a really strange case study. And even when he was a little bit younger, playing on Real Madrid in better shape, he still looked out of shape by comparison. I think it's why he didn't go number 1.
One of the things that I'm going to enjoy so much about these finals, Stugotz, because Dallas is as improbable a team as has ever arrived in this position. But if I could get the great good fortune of the greatest Boston team I've seen this century, including their champion in there, playing not only against Kyrie Irving, but the white guy they've been dying to have throughout eternity in Boston, to have those two players.
Well, they had
those two players. Well, they had Kyrie, and then Kyrie saged the place and stepped on the leprechaun. I was talking to you guys before the show, and I was asking about like where the Mavericks would rank on improbable champions, Stugotz, because I did not have this being possible. Even seeing after the trade deadline that they were, one of the best defenses in the sport. This is a giant surprise to me. I'm not used to giant surprises in this sport. For all the people who were talking all year about who can win the championship, I heard precious little talk about Dallas. 5 seeds don't win the championship. You don't have a team that wins just 50 games winning the championship.
You had a 6 seed, and the Rockets do it in, I think, 93, 94.
Yes!
6 seed got to the
40
NBA
to the 40
Finals,
to the 50 to the 45-yard line.
The Heat did it last year, right?
No, not getting there. Not getting there.
The entire
winning
right,
it. The Rockets
wasn't a lot of precedent for getting there. The only precedent for getting there as an 8 seed was a lockout shortened Knicks team that was hurt all year and wasn't a true 8.
Right.
So you say, Dan, that you're not used to seeing in this sport. I'd say the last 6 years says get used to it, because the last 6 years in NBA history seems like a huge historical outlier.
It has changed. The sport has changed because of all the offense, but 5 seeds are still not champions very often. And you just mentioned the Rockets as a 6 seed. those Rockets were the defending champion. They coasted through the following season. They had Hakeem Olajuwon. It was 93, 94, 94, 95.
It's time to 25.
Right. And so it was
they got there and won it with a championship pedigree. It would have been more shocking if it was year one because you'd already seen that nucleus do it. But I would say, yeah, like just comb through the teams that have made the finals and have won the finals in the last 6 years. The fact that we're not really getting any repeat appearances. The fact that dynasties are dying shortly thereafter, or presumed dynasties are dying shortly thereafter.
Get
off
me!
I can't really wrap my head around it. You just got to take every season as a new thing. Can't carry over.
Back. All right. Since the dawn of mankind, we've cooked our food over an open flame and debated the best way to do it. One thing not up for debate: grilling and beer always go together. But not just any beer will do. Whether you thought
Don Lebatard.
I just texted my best friend Hannah and asked her who she thinks is going to win tonight. Wow. And she has never watched a hockey game this entire season. She's picking the Rangers. And she's an astrophysicist. She's real smart.
I'll text Joey. Dan, you know what I found out about Hannah?
Touchdown, Saquon! She could have gotten that Robinson.
Okay, I don't know.
Anna too, depending on how you spell it. Even though there's two N's, it's also an anagram. Same with one N. Anagrams are fun. Race car. Anagram.
This is the Don Lebatard Show.
Jeremy, go to the penalty box, you dumbass. 2 minutes for idiocy.
We had the last 5 seasons, each of the last 5 seasons, there's been a 3 or lower in the finals.
Yeah, no, you're not catching it. Aaron Sipos booms it into the back of the end zone.
Changed in that sport with 3-pointers and offense and the way that the game is played.
I posed that I love the take. We were doing a little cable TV thing. I'm like, I don't even think it's the most shocking Dallas Mavericks champion of all time. But looking back, the series against in 2011, where J.J. Barea was put on LeBron and he refused to back him down, the Mavericks entered that series at plus 160. I think it's tough to find a line on that right now. You have the line with 3 teams. Keep in mind the Mavericks haven't actually advanced just yet, but I think it'll settle in somewhere around plus 160 for Dallas.
Do any of you listening to this have a comp for what Luka is? Because
I'm in hook zone coverage.
Confused me, but Stan Van Gundy is saying that this is the best offensive backcourt ever, and that Luka is the best offensive player that there has been in the history of the sport.
I would not say that blasphemy. Have you not heard of Jason White Chocolate Williams?
Travis Kelce, you realize he's bigger than Travis Kelce, and just because he's out there with giants, you can forget that this is a 6'7" thick, strong person who is handling the entirety of the game. But the fact that I can't tell you for sure whether he's in prime shape or not, and Stugotz can't tell you for sure whether he's hurt or not. No idea, yeah. I thought...
Come on, defense, force a turnover. What the fuck?
The Clippers, I'm like, Luka's not going to last these playoffs. Like, he's just not going to be healthy enough. And then
teammate crime.
Down. The Celtics, I believe... have, what, 8 of their 12 victories have come against teams that don't have their number 1 player?
That's right.
And Luka is going through a buzzsaw in the West. Like, every team in the top 4 out West, I thought could have won the championship. The one in the top 5 that I didn't have winning the championship was Dallas. Because I didn't have them getting past a healthy Clippers team.
You fell for the Thunder?
I did, yes.
You did. All right.
And furthermore, can you guys get me that sound from a couple of weeks ago, please, of Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards laughing about the idea that a reporter asked them, hey, you guys haven't suffered enough in the postseason. You haven't done enough losing. And their reaction was to laugh at him and say, what do you mean? We've done plenty of losing. No, this is what losing and suffering feels like. Not losing in the first round. Historically in this sport, what's happening to them this year, where you go from Anthony Edwards being celebrated for 2 rounds to spending an offseason with, hey, what happened? And we were ready to anoint you, and instead, Luka came and took your league. Like, took your league from you. Kyrie and Luka took your moment from you.
I was not ready to anoint him. Anyone who anointed him should be ashamed of themselves. But, Dan, the Celtics are going through it. That's what we're talking about. That's going deep into the playoffs and not getting it done. And that's what the Celtics are going through and have been going through for of the last 8 years now. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 of the last 8 years. They've been to the NBA Finals. They haven't gotten it done. That's losing. That's going through some pain before you actually hold up the Larry.
Yeah, I'm on
A lot
James
of people
and the
compare
fullback.
Luka to Patrick Mahomes. That seems like an inroad
Again.
comparison. I'm going to go to soccer and Diego Maradona because his body didn't make sense for how good he was on the pitch, but he had this motor that wouldn't stop, and no one could figure out why that was.
A lot of first basemen on these Luka comps.
Yeah, I agree.
Prince Fielder.
Yep, John Kruk.
I'm talking about basketball where athleticism is obviously required, and clearly, clearly, this is an enormously athletic person.
I mean, it was Jokic last year. I mean, Luka this year. I mean, athleticism, really?
It's overrated. I mean, part of the athleticism is also conserving your energy, especially when you're not, like, of the best wind.
Right.
Like Luka is. Like, he's got a special quality where he can, it's almost as if he's been, like, out of shape his entire life, so he knows how to win within those margins. And he knows just enough amount of exertion to get a look at the cup.
I'm going to say this again so that you understand what's happening here. In the fourth quarter of the last game, as the Timberwolves are benching Karl Anthony Towns, and everyone's wondering, hey, do you need to bench the Defensive Player of the Year too? 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter in a series that Minnesota has had the lead in every fourth quarter. Anthony Edwards is in the tunnel getting oxygen because of how Kyrie and Luka are beating you down. They're beating you down on what's happening at the end of games, the things that we said before this postseason started, where OKC and Minnesota can't win, not just because they haven't suffered, because young teams don't win like that. They don't win at the end of games. They do knucklehead shit. They've got to learn how to do that. So, Stugatz, this is Karl Anthony Towns during better times, and Anthony Edwards telling us, what do you mean we've got to lose in the playoffs in order to get to the finals? We've lost. We keep losing in the first round. How much losing do you want us to do?
And usually in NBA history, it says you have to lose and lose big before you win. What is it about this team that says...
We lost last year.
Yeah, but that's different. You have to lose at a bigger stage.
Last year. We lost the last 2 years. Shit.
God damn. How much more we got to lose?
Yeah, how much you want us to lose?
We're losing for 20 years.
For 20 E's. For 20 E's.
That's the truth, dog.
God damn.
I think he gets it now.
Yeah, how much more you got to lose? One more game.
One more series, generally, historically speaking.
The reporter wins. I mean, he has to feel vindicated today. No?
Vince Goodwill is the reporter. The idea that Luka is wearing them down with his
dude.
And
Why would you throw it right there?
And just his general frustrated because what the hell are you supposed to do? You can have everything lined up for the two players that they have in their backcourt, and it doesn't matter at all. And they are.
Wow,
Anthony Edwards has the dunk of the year, the play of the year. In this series, he had the dunk of the playoffs, where you're like,
congratulations to him.
He was already a star entering this year, but he's a breakout superstar from the season and the way that the postseason shook out. And Luka just stays
much better.
Even because he's always this confusing guy that finds a way to get buckets, make plays, and you can't. And you're left scratching your head. And we struggled last year and the last couple of years with Jokic, but we at least
Jokic is overrated. I said that to my dad. He lapped my ass out the 50 down the sideline, and he is gone. 62 yards. Oh, Kenny Galladay.
Defenders try to take their shot at cracking this code. No one really can.
There are a couple of things that I find super interesting about this. A, Minnesota shut down a Denver team offensively that I did not think could be shut down by anybody, and it doesn't matter when you face this backcourt. And the other thing that's happening in this series, and this is something that was camouflaged over the first two rounds. You guys didn't trust Karl Anthony Towns. You didn't. And now you know why. This is one of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen, and it is statistically one of the worst.
One of the worst.
Shooting from three is what's getting him benched. His coach is saying it's hard to watch. that it's hard to watch my second
hard to
best
watch.
player run around out there, and he knows he's not going to make anything. Is he 4 for 32 from three? I think he is something from three that is the worst there's ever been on that many shot attempts from three. Usually in the postseason, people will stop shooting if they're shooting as poorly as Karl Anthony Towns is shooting.
He is 3 of 22.
Okay, so I'm going back 5 games. This is the worst 5-game stretch we've ever seen from a three-point shooter in the postseason in this league. It's 4-4-32 because we're going back a ways. And so the Timberwolves won anyway. They beat Denver anyway with him playing that way. But
what a bizarre roster construction for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
They're dying to get this Hardaway contract off their books. They are. Like, they can set themselves up nicely. I know it's not sexy, but they have some bigs that can appear to be really versatile defenders and are huge into their success. And I always have to Google what their names are.
The most impressive part about the Mavericks is that they had Luka Doncic, and they completely revamped their roster around him in the last year and a half. They made the trade for Kyrie at the deadline in 2023, and since then they've added Gafford and Washington at this last deadline. They added Derek Jones Jr. in free agency. I think it's their second. I can hear your Heat homerism through this. This is what the Heat should do for Jimmy. No, come on, that is kind of what you're.
He was getting somewhere good, man. That wasn't.
I let him cook. I didn't go in too early. I'm saying
he was about to get
you pulled that pop too early.
You couldn't.
Where was he going with Derek Jones Jr.? I was curious.
Hear the
food is still raw.
I'm the only one that heard the Heat analysis there.
Once you said Derek Jones Jr.
He said, "Did you see that they took a star and they put a bunch of things around him to improve?"
What I saw is that he had started to cook. He had put a few things out. He had tenderized a little bit the chicken. He had marinated a little bit, and then you took all the ingredients off.
No, I let him go.
You didn't. He was not allowed to cook. Lucy, was he allowed to cook? Did you feel like Jeremy was allowed to cook?
No, please just let Jeremy be, okay? Just let him live his life. He wants to sneak a little Heat stuff in there. I felt like I didn't pick
Lucy
up on
heard
it at all.
Come on, Lucy.
No, I didn't.
Lucy, you heard it.
Chris, don't do this to me. I'm bad in confrontation. My parents are divorced. I can't pick again.
You mentioned the Mavericks roster construction. Luka's up for 5 years, $346 million, and Kyrie's going to be up for 4 years, $243 million. So they're about to give $600 million to both of those guys over the next 4 years.
Can you believe we're here with Kyrie?
No.
Where it's okay. Well, we got to get him his money. We got to pay Kyrie. This was never the thought. This is a contract that's changed hands several times over.
I have seen many times over the years. Allen Iverson was the one that I remember most clearly, where we were just crushing him, and then he made it to the finals, and we're like, did Allen change? And it's like, no, not really.
He's just winning.
He's just winning now, and when you start winning, we will change the way that we talk about you. And all of that said, Kyrie Irving has been maximum professional for them since he got there. He was humbled by everything that happened there, and this is the most circuitous route he could have possibly taken to, I'll show you what I can do when I break free of LeBron James. He took the route that was all over the place and got to the place in the most unconventional of ways, because all of us would have had it happening in Boston and Brooklyn before it happened in Dallas.
Yeah, but are we forgetting it didn't happen in Boston and it didn't happen in Brooklyn? Like, the best Boston team was the team
into the end zone, touchdown! Oh, his second of the game.
And it was so bad.
One receiving, one rushing. Saquon is in the zone.
This gets forgotten by the excellence of what you're presently witnessing, because there's nothing in sports better than a surprise. There's nothing better than the underdog surprise. And this is what they are. And whether you like him or not, there is not any disputing that his play has been excellent. He's taking turns with Luka. Why is Luka not tired at the end of games? Because Kyrie is doing shit with the ball handling that Anthony Edwards doesn't have someone else to do outside of, Mike Conley, who you can't trust at 37 to create all sorts of offense.
But are we certain that Luka's tired at the end of games? That's what I'm trying to tell you. We have no way of knowing. Luka is the most annoying basketball player. He's the guy that walks into the gym. He's complaining about his knee. He's got a knee brace on. He's complaining about the shoulder. He's complaining about everything. He looks like he's hurt. He can't jump. and he lights you up for 40 points. I can't stand that guy.
With a cigarette in his mouth. You should love that. Luka had 21 in the fourth. Kyrie had 21 in the fourth. The Timberwolves had 20 in the fourth.
What combined their 2 points?
Yeah, when you put them together, excuse me. When Luka and Kyrie together had 21 points in the fourth. They've been alternating what they're doing in the fourth quarter, you guys.
Yeah, but Kyrie was supposed to be a number 1, and he's not. Like, Iverson did that as a number 1 with Eric Snow. Like, that's who Iverson did that with. He got to the NBA Finals. Kyrie has never been a number 1 and led a team to an NBA Finals or an NBA championship.
You're going to find
he needed
ways
LeBron. Yes, I am.
To criticize Kyrie Irving the way that he's presently playing.
Because he attaches himself to these guys, and then he becomes the number 2, and then we praise him when he wins a championship or he gets to the NBA Finals. Kyrie's been an utter disappointment his entire career. I don't want to hear about Kyrie.
You are out of your mind.
Complain about someone else being a number 2.
Yeah. I mean, he's supposed to be a number 1. I'm supposed to be a number 2. Kyrie is supposed to be a number 1. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
He's never
huge play.
The Cavs were awful until LeBron came back, put him in a position to hit one of the biggest shots in NBA history. I mean, seriously. One play Hall of Fame. I mean,
this is an odd take.
I mean, Kyrie's going to be talked about as one of the more confusing players, especially if he wins this one, because he can be both things. He could be arguably the game's greatest number 2 ever outside of maybe Kobe Bryant and Scottie Pippen.
Yep.
But also,
what's up, bro? Hello, Moonless.
Number 1, and he's nuked franchises. Like he's killed coaches and nuked franchises.
Okay, but in the history of players that size, almost none have ever been a number 1 who wins a championship at that size. Like,
Isaiah.
Like, okay, congratulations on picking the 1.
Kyrie's
yeah, Steph literally won a title with by himself, I think, one time. That's not.
It's so bad what you're doing. How can you turn this into criticizing Kyrie Irving?
How are you doing tonight, bro?
40, 45, 50, 45, 40, down the sideline! He is gone! 75 yards! His third of the game!
Feels good on a Monday.
No one can take that.
And we have broken it open. It was on the on the readout.
NBA playoff in Kyrie Irving. History of players.
I've never used the Giants before, so this is fun. Saquon underrated with speed.
Kyrie's number 2 the last year before LeBron came back to Cleveland was Dion Waiters.
Oh my lord! Oh my lord!
How can you turn this into criticizing Kyrie Irving? Like, how can
LeBron got to the finals with worse. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, LeBron's pretty good. He's pretty good at basketball.
He's not LeBron James.
Congratulations, Stugatz. You get to be right.
Thank you.
Kyrie Irving is not LeBron James.
Consensus.
Yeah.
Feels good on a Monday.
No one can take that one apart.
What a weird take from you.
With only a few weeks left in the NBA playoffs, no matter which team you're rooting for, there's nothing like witnessing history in person. Use the Game Time app today and lock in your tickets to check out one of the teams that will lift the trophy at the end of the NBA Finals this season. Did you know that the prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off?
Yeah. I'm a Saints fan.
Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy shows, and more. The feature that I love the most on the Game
I can
Time
tell
app
you are not a fan of the Cowboys.
From my seat. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Or you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. Game Time also has the lowest price guaranteed. With 2 taps, you'll see the all-in pricing.
I'm a Raiders fan all day, bro. Not at all.
Ah, nice. I've never talked to a Raiders fan before. By the way, I hope you actually do well. Except against my Saints, of course. We play week 11 this year. But other than that, I hope y'all do well.
Yeah, enjoy a long and fruitful run, Dan.
What was that voice?
A Celtics fan.
Oh, damn. Good hit, Julian Love.
Well, it was me.
Stugatz. It's It's amazing. It's amazing to see the mask pulled off and to see you so clearly. You were in such good disguise, and I didn't know it was you. But then
It's me, a Celtics fan.
Thank you, bro. Hope Derek Carr does some for you guys, lol.
Of course. Honestly, can I be real with you? I feel like the Raiders really fucked him over because the best receiver he ever had was Rod Streeter in 2012, and then Devontae Adams in 2015, and of course Amari Cooper in 2014. But I feel like he was never given a chance. Leonard, what are you doing? But yeah, I feel like if y'all would have gave him better wide receiver talent, he would have been a better quarterback for him.
Amin El Hassan is our gas bag.
Fly! Intercepted! Oh! Let's go!
Damian Lillard for Drew Holiday's corpse and some
and Saquon's in the zone.
Bro, we just needed a rebuild.
Y'all had two of them bad boys. What you mean, fam? What you mean?
Hey, you think Drew Holiday is at his peak right now?
What do you mean, bro?
At your peak and being a corpse. There are a lot of stops between those two things.
Man, it ain't that many more stops.
Against the Pacers,
I've ever heard your voice.
Against the Pacers, Drew Holiday, 18.5 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game.
Get off me.
The game-winning steal in Game 3. And according to Stat Mamba on Twitter, he's the first player to average 15, 5, and 5 with a true shooting percentage over 75% in a conference finals series.
The rare sweep, that could have been a sweep the other way. Rob Brendamore is probably watching at home saying, that's what I was talking about over there. The Pacers had a 90% win probability late in those games in 3 out of the 4.
But the Celtics are doing all the things we questioned about the Celtics.
Breaks the tackle inside the 25.
And they're doing it late. Yes. It's just not the person that we want to see do it late. So it's a little confusing. But yeah, if you're a Celtics fan, you don't really care if Tatum's the one doing it. You just want to get there.
Being a corpse.
And another one!
Bro, but I'm hoping we make it to the playoffs this year with these new players, bro.
I agree. And I just threw a tutty with Daniel Jones to Jordan Akins. Oh! And then we are blowing up the Cowboys. Let's go. Getting our revenge from early in the season when they blew us out. Oh yes, it was an absolute die. And it was in double coverage. I cut it between both the safety and the linebacker, in between both of them on the corner route, and it was a beautiful throw.
Lack that drama, and it's what the NBA does.
Wow, the highest compliment. When Mike Ryan says that the Celtics are confusing, here are a couple of things that are going to be hard to get your head around. Right now, Jason Tatum is on pace to have the second most postseason points ever before he's done, because he's always there and he's scoring a bunch of points. And I do believe people are generally reluctant to confer greatness upon this Celtics team, at least in part because there's somewhere in our expectation. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't think it's fair. No, Derek White, I don't want you hitting the important shot with Jaylen Brown setting it up. I want Tatum to do it. I want your best player.
Who is this in the background, Rolo?
I am listening to a podcast right now.
I don't think history cares or remembers any of that stuff. I don't think it ends up mattering. Just like history doesn't remember the injuries. You got Kawhi Leonard and Toronto have a championship forever, and nobody cares that Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant were hurt in those finals. So if the Celtics win the championship, it'll be one of the best teams ever. But I do wonder whether or not
I've never heard somebody say that before.
It that way because of it not.
Yes!
They play the game different.
Oh, she's Jimenez with the sack. Oh, we are dominating right now. A Thanksgiving Day massacre.
but it's not like they've gone 12-2 in an easy path. They've lost 2 times.
They have 20 losses headed into the NBA Finals, and there aren't a whole bunch of teams in the sports history that have had 20 or fewer losses headed into the NBA Finals. Like the Bulls, the Golden State Warriors, those types of teams. They Heat in 2013.
No, I'm not trying to mess up. I'm in a groove right now.
If they win the championship, empirically, they will have one of the most dominant seasons that any team has ever had, and it will not be remembered that way.
And that's just how the sport's changed?
I don't have a better explanation for you, right?
I think that the offensive numbers probably just skew everything right now, so you can't actually apply the proper historical prism. It was like it's before integration in some sports. Like the gulf between where the game was in, say, the 90s and where it is now offensively, it's an unrecognizable sport. You have to talk about like pre-merger. You have to talk about it in those terms, pre-merger terms.
Only Kobe Bryant got
another one. Oh, in the end zone.
And he does a lot of scoring.
Aikens is second of the game, over 150 yards for the game.
Show me all the ones at the end of games. Show me all the ones where I had to see him tested, and I was like, "Oh, you went face to face with Luka."
Down the right sideline for the touchdown.
I know he's got it. He's not afraid of anything.
I mean, the computer, you should have spelled it, my boy.
Stolen out of nowhere, Stugatz. The thing we were talking about with suffering, he suffered. Like, he has been hurt in the playoffs.
We think.
He's been emotionally hurt in the playoffs, physically hurt in the playoffs, and now he sneaks in through the side on, oh, wait a minute. Is it going to be the young players that take over the league? Because I don't think of Luka as young. I think of him as 39.
That guy.
I think of him, I don't think of him as, he is a young player, but I don't think of him as a young player.
He's 25.
His body's not. There's a lot on that odometer.
That's what I'm saying.
He's 25, but there are 100,000 miles on the odometer, and 3 or 4 of the lights are on. 3 or 4 of the lights you don't recognize are on.
Brandy Day, welcome to my YouTube channel.
It can't be. Luka, put it on the poll at Legatar Show. Is Luka a young player?
He's younger than Tatum.
Historically, the NBA prime is right around 27 years old. So he still hasn't entered his prime, although his body probably changes the math.
Will he make it?
It'll be the rare 50-50 poll on is he a young player?
It's not that bad, is it? I mean, he does look boxy. Like when they show the graphics of like the conference final players to promote on the lower third, it does, like, his body looks different, but I guess it's, I have a very similar build.
We got another person in here.
Exactly. I need more subscribers.
We are not the same.
Lucy, congratulations, by the way. I saw that Awful Announcing voted you as one of the rising newcomers in the American sports media.
Nice.
I salute you. Nobody else around here won the award handed out by Awful Announcing.
I'm 35. So.
Thank you. You're 35?
I'm actually 37, and just because 25, I'm
not a newcomer.
Well, Jeremy just gave you a side eye right now because he thinks he should be one of the up-and-coming media.
I mean, obviously.
Newcomers.
I don't have an Emmy, so.
Okay.
It's not a competition, except it is.
Well, you just made it.
And I won.
It is. Right?
Why do you always do that?
Wait a minute, it is a competition. I didn't do it. I didn't give her the side eye.
Trying to reach 1K, bro.
I'm trying to reach 1 million subscribers, starting over 1K, and then trying to move my way up as well. How many subscribers do you have, if you have a YouTube channel?
I'm sorry for being so successful. I don't know what you want from me.
Quickly apologize for your 20 years of success, Stu.
I am now going to get to the promised list of the worst that South Florida sports fans have ever felt.
Well, as a Marlins fan, I've only known. Oh. You haven't got any so far? That's unfortunate.
These are all season enders, okay? Because I'm telling you that I felt some of what gets felt when a season is closed in that Panther game. Specifically, Stugat, because they're the best third period team.
Ooh,
they had 30 shot attempts in the third period. They came back from 4-2 in the third period. They had an advantage on shot attempts of 108. The goal's behind him. We gotta mill about here to see if they go to review and give us a freebie as Bobrovsky whimpers, allowing his 5th goal, that somebody gave him an elbow when nobody gave him an elbow, and it wasn't any kind of interference. And it just made me terribly sad for Panther fans.
They're down 2-1 against the Rangers.
No, but Dan's so right. We're down 4-2 going into that period. We get 2 goals, so you could think right there, this is a good period. I'll take overtime, but no. The final 10 minutes, the amount of chances, the deflation that we felt from not getting that go-ahead goal in that third, I felt like we lost right there.
The place was ready to erupt. So, guys, here's what you have happening in this series.
Well, half the place, because half of the
wow, Daniel Jones, 418 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And I'm not thrilled about it.
Wasn't half.
I mean, they needed the money.
It was a lot of Rangers.
Sounded like half.
There was a lot of money. Yeah.
Ranger fans. I thought up 1-0, and you're in New York, and the game's tied 1-1, and there's just a beautiful give and go.
Listen.
From there, the Panthers have done nothing. The Blues. Barkov somehow missed. I was not expecting him to miss.
This is just one of them. Yeah, pretty well. I need to stop throwing some of the damn interceptions, though. I do need to stop doing that.
In New York, a lot of people are pointing out that the Panthers have
this time the blocking animation.
Chris Cody attached his particular brand of stink to the Panthers' run.
Mike Fuentes dead to me. Unnecessary tweet.
So it's your fault.
I mean,
you enjoy your 37 retweets with that, buddy? Whoa. No, I hate him.
Lashing out.
No.
It's a great tweet.
No, you think he knew what he was doing there. He's like, oh, this is going to crush. This will be good.
Haha! Inside the 15.
No, I was just going to make Chris feel. I bet that didn't cross his mind.
No.
Jerk.
Do you feel like you're a jinx and a poison, and that you're spoiling everything that felt
only
good
at road
about the
games?
Panthers?
Don't do this to me. I have a good home record. I've been to a lot of games.
Game 3?
I was at game 3.
Inside the 5.
Kachuk jersey, that's 0-2. That thing's not getting worn tonight.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
I'm like that too.
Mm-hmm.
My Reinhardt jersey is 0-2-1. Not wearing that thing again.
I almost burnt it.
You should.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at Levitard Show. Will
Red
you
zone.
Indians down at the line.
Captain C. Barkov today.
I'm going Old Faithful Kachuk jersey because that thing's about 10-2 this year.
Yeah, that
Back to the basics.
Dubs.
Yeah.
You going with this, but
Rondell Robinson receiving touchdown. Haha.
Think that a shirt they put on during a game changes the result.
Ball is gyrating. Knock that one out of the ball.
Overtime losses, by the way.
Shirts don't matter.
That's just the overtime numbers.
Yeah, McCarthy, you getting this play.
Chuck is out there, and the only part of the that works is his navel. And you guys are like, I know I'm
gonna be your next stream, bro.
Coming up next after this one, I'm switching over to my Saints franchise. So after this game, I'm going to switch over to my Saints franchise and do 2 games over there.
I should get a ring. What are you talking about?
Given how much Chris sweats through some of that stuff, I imagine there is a ring around like the collar of it.
With only a few weeks left in the NBA playoffs, no matter what you're looking for, there's nothing like witnessing history in person. Use the Game Time app today and lock in your tickets to check out one of the teams that will lift the trophy at the end of the NBA Finals this season. Did you know that the prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off? It's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. Game Time also has killer last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy shows, and more. The feature that I love the most on the Game Time app is the ability to see the views from my seat. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Or you can save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. Game Time also has the lowest price guaranteed. With 2 taps, you'll see the all-in pricing, so there aren't any surprises at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DAN for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You're listening to
How was I offside? I was behind the line of scrimmage, you asshole. I was behind the line of scrimmage.
Today's episode is brought to you by The Bike Riders, a new film from Jeff Nichols starring Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. Inspired by true events, The Bike Riders follows Benny, Austin Butler, the newest member of Midwestern motorcycle club The Vandals, led by the enigmatic Johnny.
Yes!
Critics are
Another
calling it
set!
electrifying,
Jihad
thrilling,
Wood!
exhilarating, powerful, and the godfather of biker movies. Experience The Bike Riders on the big screen this summer, only in theaters June 21st. Visit thebikeridersfilm.com to get tickets now.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo. The
I was
tequila
trying to
that invented
dive.
tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
390 yards.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
A podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Levitard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize.
Nah.
In fact, the only difference seems
Down
to
to
be
the
the
line.
I have been tempted in
That's
restaurants.
right. She's walking past you. It's the grass and
somebody's
Liddy's
fries.
fat.
If they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
The fullback with a toddy.
Here's the
Ooh,
marching
his
band to
head.
nowhere, Fat Face,
Are you okay?
and the Habitual Liar.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Some of these stats from Game 3, Stugats, when Kachuk was out there, their shot attempt advantage was 56-6. When Verhage was out there, the shot attempt advantage was 56-9. It's why I'm saying that I can't remember a game early in a series, right? When we're talking about, I can say about the Miami Heat, Game 6 to you, and you think Ray Allen, and you think LeBron in Boston. I give you just Game 6 Heat history. If I give you Game 5 Heat history, you might think to yourself, oh, Paul Pierce making that 3 over LeBron. I was scared. It required the Game 6 for the blueprint. But Game 3s usually don't echo in a way that the feeling is so bad that, like, man, I'm going to feel the scar of that one.
3 words. Dexter Pittman game.
Wow.
In Indiana?
Yes, I want to throw this one. Wanda Robinson!
Consulted Tom Crean. We thought it was all over.
No! That was her first shot! I got a punt. I can't. Damn it.
Yeah. That game 3 also sings. Wade missed a couple of free throws. Like, that's one that rings eternal.
Well, how about this? Of all
I know! It was a perfect throw!
franchises don't have the gut punch losses that the Heat and the Dolphins do.
So you didn't include the Hurricanes.
I do include the Hurricanes.
Okay, well, there's a baseball one for the Hurricanes.
Oh, there is a baseball one. I don't put that one in here. I told you guys before that Jim Morris was a strike away from winning the College World Series. LSU hits a home run, and his entire offseason, he had actual nightmares that he was trapped under the dugout with only a sliver of space that he could see through because of how traumatic that was. That's right, Lucy. That's it. You lose
the entire offseason.
Yeah, he said
Really? You had nightmares of losing a baseball game? Come on, bro. You need some mental health issues. If somebody really had that much of an issue with that, then you need to have a professional. Plot, you need to be faster, damn it! Come on!
All he had was a sliver to see.
Fucking bullshit, bro.
From under the dugout, that home run.
I hate that damn animation, bro.
It's an unbelievable nightmare.
Is he okay?
Damn it, man.
Got a kid. He's super happy. Retired.
He's
Legend.
moved past it, huh?
Yeah, I don't think he has.
It's a tough one to shake.
I don't think he has. You guys can say it. Yeah. You guys can say
Man,
it.
not only was I winning this Pro Bowl game back in the 2024 season. Man, this game was on.
That particular nightmare, I'm not kidding you when I say that's something that could be felt from someone that like fought at Saigon.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about sports losses and mold of a person. That one's right up there for me. In Saigon. Yeah, I was talking about Saigon.
In stride inside the 45 across midfield.
Kind of nightmare. Number 5.
Wow.
Dan Marino loses in the Super Bowl to Washington.
Did he lose to San Francisco?
He did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the rookie year. Yeah, his rookie year.
$5.
It's a different Super Bowl.
I mean, Marino, Montana, my whole career is built on that.
The Washington Super Bowl was John Riggins and Jimmy Sepulveda. My bad. That's right.
I thought you were going.
David Woodley was a quarterback.
I thought you were going to go with the AFC playoff game. Stojanovic missed. Natron Means stepped out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds.
No, hold on. You got to give me time to get this. You got to get time.
Oh no! 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 Means business.
Anyway, go ahead, Dan. Off to a hot start.
He didn't mean business because his name.
You've got to be shitting me, bro.
Except for that day.
Well, it's that day. He did.
Yeah.
Man, it was about time for me. I know. It's crazy how I know, right? I thought I was going to throw a perfect spiral on that one. But it was about time I put James Jones on the bench for the rest of the game because we're winning this game anyway. This game is over, but just salty I threw a pick. I really didn't want to do that because I was trying to keep momentum going into the next week's game. Or the bye week. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Oh, and they never get back.
Yes.
Yeah, like, well, Kaepernick, different things happen there.
Correct.
What would you make a...
What the hell?
List as we collect ourselves.
Yeah.
Really?
The Goodell statement on Harrison Butker. Oh, God.
You can't make this shit up, bro.
How do you imagine that lands with Colin Kaepernick?
The hell type of animation was that, bro?
How do you think that lands in general?
Crazy pass.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I've never seen a quarterback throw the ball like that before.
Welcome all sides and not exclude any customer whatsoever. So gives everybody the right to say whatever it is that they want to say unless they do it silently kneeling in front of a flag.
Right. I think that's what everyone's doing, which is, okay, it seems as though companies have figured out from what happened to one beer, this is how we play this going forward. Okay, they don't want cancel culture. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Launched a new political league.
From the leagues themselves, who you expect the players are doing this.
200 yards for Saquon, not a lot of
that franchise in the last few
tied the
months.
career high
There's
for
been
total
ample
yards in the
opportunity
game.
for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to make real statements, to actually guys that can truly reach across the aisle and get everyone in on a common message. And look, it's how they feel. They have their own convictions about things, but they just kind of say no thanks. And everyone just do their own thing. And that's the line now, which is funny because it's just, and I know Jon Stewart recently did this cancel culture thing. We've had some discussion about it with how it favors stand-up comedians. It's in their best interest to keep this thing going about cancel culture because that's how you seem dangerous. Too hot for TV, and you get more deals out of it. The only people that have suffered any punitive measures from cancel culture outside of like the judicial system has been progressivist, Hollywood elite. I mean, some of them have done really bad things. When you think about like Kathy Griffin and Colin Kaepernick and the people that have actually Al Franken, like it's not an actual punitive measure on the right. Look at Harrison Butker's charmed existence right now.
On top 5 tangent, respect the top 5. Number 4.
I will get there in a second.
What?
Just cannonballed out of that one.
Jesus.
Number 4, Allen Houston ends the Miami Heat season with a ball that bounces on the rim 27 times as an 8 seed.
Can I go back to number 5 for a second? Because I don't think Dolphin fans were crushed when Marino lost to Montana in that Super Bowl. I think they thought the way that Marino thought, hey, I'm going to get back here, and I'm going to get back here a lot, right? It took years for that to develop.
A lot of fans lose the Super Bowl and aren't crushed?
I mean, not when you have a young quarterback like Marino. And you
I just throw it up to see if we would get there, but I shouldn't
It's what
have
made the
done that.
losses to the Chargers and Bills primarily like sting real bad, because then you were starting to get hit with reality. Like, wait, that was actually our only shot at this?
To your point, Mike, on what it is that you're saying about Harrison Butker, what it is that shows me from Mahomes, Goodell, and Andy Reid, that when it comes to leadership in those positions that they're in, they are actually more interested in staying out of the headlines and the distractions. The thing that they want to lead is away from distractions more than to give you whatever their opinion is on X, Y, and Z and the kicker. Number 3, LeBron loses to the Dallas Mavericks.
You gotta be serious.
Number 2 is either one of the Dalton losses to San Diego, the Kellen Winslow one or the one that would have been AFC Championship.
Whoa!
A long time
Not
ago.
really how top 5s work.
Really? CD Lamb 150 yards a game.
They got dominated by Kellen Winslow, but there's legitimate beef if you're a Dolphins fan. All that happened before instant replay.
So many picks, bro.
I don't get it either. I usually averaging 2 picks a game. That was my 5th one.
That just comes up short, and San Diego ends up going to the Super Bowl that year. Now, granted, it probably would have been another loss to San Francisco
yards
for the Miami Dolphins, because
you can't make this shit up, bro.
Teams of all time, but it would have been a hometown Super Bowl. They would have been the first to ever host it, and as we've seen, the last 2 teams, the only 2 teams to ever host a Super Bowl, have won it.
And number 1, the University of Miami loses to Ohio State on a bogus call by Terry Porter, who has been hiding Saints.
So 2 that have happened this century, 1 in the last 20 years.
What am I missing? Give me the one.
The Marcus Thornton game against Sacramento. We all thought the blueprint was on the line.
Yep.
There was a Memphis Grizzlies game where Udonis broke his foot and also Spo got shoved intentionally. I think we can all see that now.
Good one.
Who was the Utah Jazz player who's...
Oh, Paul Millsap.
Oh, the Millsap.
Oh, that Millsap.
Jesus, he lit us up.
Us? What are you talking about?
I mean, I had season tickets at the time.
What are you talking about? You scalped all your season tickets.
I did.
You were...
Paul Millsap.
Just like Panther fans.
I am telling
That's
you...
disgusting.
Roy, you do not show us emotion, but that loss, I'm telling you, made me conjure that list, because outside of those all-ended seasons, everything I'm mentioning is your season's over, you don't get to play again tonight. It's just done. You're just suffering. But the way that game was played, the way the final goal was scored, the way the Rangers did nothing. They did nothing from the 3rd period on. For them to leave with a series lead,
and that'll do it.
Just debilitated.
And that's the prime example of playoff hockey. You could dominate a team the entire game, and then one shot, one bounce, game over.
Roy,
what's scary is that's the story. That's been the story of the Rangers for these last 2 rounds. Is they kind of got you where they want you, with you feeling.
I was trying to lateral, but there was no one to be found.
And then they just end up coming up. I don't know how sustainable worldies are and these individual moments of brilliance, but that's when the math starts getting skewed. You look at what's happened so far this series, and you think, well, the math is just going to even out.
Yeah.
What changes math? All-world performances from your goalie and individual moments of brilliance that win games. And they've had that from Gaudreau, and they've had that from Lafreniere.
When I told you guys that I feared Tampa Bay and I feared... it's not them that I feared. It's hockey. It's what just happened, where when you're better, and it doesn't mean shit.
How do you think I feel as a Marlins fan? When we thought we were a better team against the Phillies last year, and they screwed us over by making us having to go on the road, even though we had a better record against the Phillies.
Some of the signs are fogginess and fatigue.
Man, that really pissed me off. I felt like they did that shit on purpose.
Extraordinary hydration with advanced science thanks to LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, vitamins, and nutrients. One stick of Liquid IV delivers superior hydration to water alone with 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks plus 8 vitamins and nutrients. It's hydration for endurance, mental
inside the chat, down to the 19. Oh,
sugar-free. It makes me feel hydrated, and I am not exhausted.
I've had. Yes, I am a Marlins fan, unfortunately.
Into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order.
I am a Marlins fan,
when you go to
unfortunately.
liquidiv.com and use code Dan at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Dan at liquidiv.com.
Don Le Batard.
Our Panther group chat, we're confident against the Lightning. This is a different team.
Your Panther group chat.
No, I think no, but dude, you're so wrong on that. We've been terrified of this team forever, and I think there's a different energy where the Panthers, they want the Lightning.
Stugatz.
I want T-shirts made for this Panther run. What could be this Panther run? Our Panther group chat. We're not afraid of the Lightning.
That's a tagline.
Well, I don't really watch baseball like that.
Understandable. It's not for everybody.
I wanted to ask you a question, Stugatz, on a couple of different things that we have
I had it.
happening here because Hip Hop Weekend, Memorial Day.
And I think
Batard.
our Panther group chat, we're confident against the Lightning. This is a different team.
Your Panther group chat.
No, I think no, but dude, you're so wrong on that. We've been terrified of this team forever, and I think there's a different energy where the Panthers, they want the Lightning.
Stugatz.
I want T-shirts made for this Panther run. What could be this Panther run? Our Panther group chat. We're not afraid of the Lightning.
That's a tagline.
RAR 3.
I have. That's
I
weird.
wanted to ask you a question, Stugatz, on a couple of different things that we have happening here because Hip Hop Weekend, Memorial Day weekend, used to be something in South Florida that was a giant party that was distinctive, that had flair, that was ethnic and specific to Miami. And it's been nuked. Like what happened, and it's been slow over the last couple of years. What they've
600
done
yards,
is
5 touchdowns, 4 picks. Not a fan. 78% completion percentage, career high. Saquon 200 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns. You see, oh my, Jordan Akins 200 yards, CeeDee Lamb 3 touchdowns, 98 yards. My gracious. Wanda Robinson a touchdown. Shields Jones, Kenny Galladay. Everybody got involved. Let's go. How many sacks allowed? 2 for Biotic, 1 for Tyron Smith. None of my offensive linemen.
The bonus military presence of let's put an Aaron C show here. Let's make
most total tackles, 23. Trey Crowder, NFL single game record. Trey Crowder most tackles for loss. A sack each for Jai Woods, Jimenez rankings, Jackson, Holmes. Half sack for Jalen Holmes, Davidson, Quincy Roche did not get on the stat sheet. 2 picks for Curse, 1 for Holmes, Hooker, Jordan Lewis, Trayvon Dixon, Cordell Flott.
What I'm going to call the Founding Fathers hit list. Like it was a playlist that would have been what the Founding Fathers
28 yards, the longest kickoff return. Longest punt return, 25 yards.
And Hail to the Chief, just an assortment of syrupy patriotic music.
Songs that J.J. Watt plays in his car.
Songs that you wouldn't necessarily call a bop.
Yeah.
The soundtrack to J.J. Watt's every step toward a life filled with soaring eagles and a heart filled with American
I'm playing
pride.
the Commanders.
It was not.
Already had the bye week.
It was not within 200 years of hip.
Is it better? Is it better out there for residents?
Yes.
Yeah.
You liked it.
It's a welcome change of pace. Like, keep in mind, like, it wasn't just the amount of crime, it was how sensational the crime was when this thing was in its referred to heyday. I mean, we had zombies eating people outside of Herald buildings. We had gunshots exchanged right on Ocean Drive. Like, it was kind of bad.
What zombies?
There was somebody on bath
salts. Actually, turned out, I did some Googling. Turned out no bath salts were in the system.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really? The person,
yeah,
first of all,
according to one article.
That wasn't on South Beach, though.
No, that was right, like, at the edge of the bridge that takes you to South Beach, right by the Herald building.
Lucy, you're not familiar with a zombie person who I thought was on so many drugs that they bit someone's face and created a great deal of damage to someone's face, and they made it the zombie eater of people.
No, Dan, I'm not familiar with that.
You might have been pretty young when this happened. This happened like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
It was memorable. I don't associate that with Memorial Day, though.
It was right around that window where everyone's in town. Yeah.
But they put an end to it, Stugatz. And I would say it was quieter out there, but again, there were bombers going over the ocean. The ground, the land was quieter. The air and the sea were not quite as quiet. But it was a lot of this being played all over the place.
A lot of flutes?
Well, I don't know if this is the opposite of hip-hop, but it's pretty close to the opposite of hip-hop, whatever it is, however it is that you define such things.
I think you can make a sample out of this and make something special.
I remember calling the hospital, seeing if we can get the victim on, just like a true error in judgment.
That is
when you're under pressure to book for the
Wait,
big
we're
game.
not going to the playoffs.
That is a bad decision.
Was mine. I can assure you that.
You got to try.
Usually when the button is like call the person in Jackson whose face was just eaten or don't, I'm usually reaching as soon as I can for the don't.
The other thing that was quiet this Memorial Day weekend, Stugatz, and this is a recurring trend, and I don't know if movie theaters are dead, but they are fast headed from endangered to extinct, I would imagine, because I would think that Furiosa, the Mad Max, the Mad Max sequel, I would think.
You really had to do that.
No, you didn't. Why did you do it?
I just made.
Why did you do it?
Because you weren't sure.
It's the local hour. No, I wanted to make it Hispanic. I wanted to make her Hispanic.
Furiosa.
Okay.
Furiosa.
Mad Max sequel. If there were ever a movie that I would want to watch in the theater because it will be visually amazing, and I know it'll be visually amazing. And
I love hearing myself
than it is to watch at home. This would be
do it like commentating on my own games. It's hilarious. I sound so funny. And I still have a little nasally too.
This century, Furiosa barely beat Garfield in its opening weekend after budgeting and having one of those smoking Hemsworths in the middle of things. After a budget of like $165 million, it opened at a little over $30 million. And I imagine like Fall Guy, it'll be on video demand very quickly. I think Fall Guy was 2 weeks, right? That it took to go from the theaters to
I watched that over this weekend.
Home. And?
I liked it. It definitely seemed like, I've read some reviews that it kind of meshes with. It seems like a long-time stunt guy who finally was able to make a movie and got to live out his dreams of throwing Tom Cruise under a bus.
Speaking of Tom Cruise, his Mission Impossible 8 movie, Stugatz, is approaching $400 million in budget, and
worth it.
They've had a submarine malfunction of some sort that is
so you do the hop on your Saints franchise.
Yeah, after I do these last couple of player upgrades, switch over to my Saints franchise.
Out of genuine curiosity, because there's the Marvel movies, which probably. Of like spy genre.
I remember this episode that I had. I remember creating this episode and I realized my controller died and I forgot to charge the damn thing.
The key to the entity is somewhere below polar waters. Do you guys remember that one?
They need the sub scene is what you're saying.
You need a sub for this one.
Right.
I was looking at the Memorial Day weekend in 1995. By the way, Crimson Tide came out the week before that.
Oh, great movie. Gene Hackman.
My reaction is so funny.
Tales from the Hood.
You can't make this shit up, bro. Well, everyone who's been watching this particular franchise, switch over to my Saints franchise. I'm gonna finish this stream and then make another video.
Maybe that's part of the reason why. It's a prequel, so like you have Anya Taylor-Joy playing the